I perfect. So I really want to bring up what Tanya said. Definitely Hashem behind this story, and there's no doubt about it. Okay, so we do have to know that for sure. Okay, there's no doubt about it. But what is happening in the world is coming a lot from the choices that we've made. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's an important part. Like, Hashem says, I'll send you a certain light. There's always goodness and light coming into the world. But if you behave a certain way, you deflect the light and you send the light in all these different directions. And instead of it going to where it needed to land, it lands in the hands of the wrong people, right? And the light is distorted. And this is by the choices that we make. And I think that that's important. We're not here in history because we were all doing such good things. Do you know what I mean? The world itself, let's be real, okay, started to make the most bizarre choices and continues to make those bizarre choices.
Bizarre.
Right? Simple things that we understood, right? Who is a boy? Who is a girl? We don't understand anymore. Like people don't know. And you're raising generations of people being really brainwashed, like, in preschools with like all kinds of crazy stories and having all kinds of really inappropriate people coming into the preschools to read to them and to teach them. Like it's really, really inappropriate. And that's the truth. And we understood what certain things were. Like there was a clearer definition of right and wrong. Do you know how, this is important for us to know, like how krum, the word in Hebrew, krum, how crooked, this world is. So they're trying to claim in the United States that crime is down. Do you know that crime is at record levels? So they're asking them, how dare you, say that crime is down? So you know how? Because they redefined crime. You can go into a store and steal your dollars worth of stuff and nothing happens to you. If you don't have money for bail, they'll just let you back on the street. So there's nobody recording the crime and they redefined the word crime. Do you understand what's going on?
Ridiculous.
And then they have the chutzpah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how Meshiga do you think we all are? Like, it's just incredible. So when you're making choices like that, do you know what I mean? It's almost like when the market gets what's that called? When the market becomes so exaggerated, like houses are millions and billions and nobody can afford any of this. So there's like a shift, right? There's a shift to balance the market again. So when the world gets so off kilter, Tanya's right. Hashem comes in and he has to tilt it back. And it's almost tilted as crazy as it is to this side. Hashem has to make it crazy on the other side to be able to balance the whole story out. But it is our actions that cause what happens. And so, like when you're looking at the upcoming holiday, the holiday of Purim, you read the Megillah and it's like, it probably takes what, 35, maybe 35 to 40 minutes to read the Megillah. But how long was the story of the Megillah? It was 12 years long.
Yeah.
Do you know that? People think, you ask people, what do you think the story of the Megillah is? Most people will tell you maybe a year. It was 12 years in the making. So there was so much, behind the scenes, and there's so much more depth in all the parts of the story. And it's so interesting. Like right now, like just, I just want to look at this. Like right now, did anybody go to Sobeys lately? Who went to Sobeys lately? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, in this neighborhood, you're probably there every 5 minutes. But anyway, so when you go to Sobeys, like what's going on already in the store?
Like getting all ready for Purim.
Yes, for Purim, and not only Purim's already out the door. Okay, I was there. I got the cutest little gruggers with candies for half price. Because guess what? I see something's coming up, right?
Pesach, for Pesach.
Pesach. Oh my gosh.
Okay, like if you go out there, you could already buy, like they're already putting on the shelves, all the jam and all this stuff. Somebody said such a cute line. Someone said that someone was telling me last year, like they walked in, when they turn everything everything over and they do it so quickly. So she walked in and she went, and she's looking at the Pesach products and she goes like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. They've been on the shelf for over a year. Like she couldn't understand. Like they've already put it on. Like, is this last year's stuff? And then she realized it was this year's stuff. So it's just like so interesting. So Pesach and Purim are very much connected. And I will tell you where they're connected. And I think it's the world that we're living in right now, is that they're connected in the miracles that happened. And the miracles of Purim were very hidden. And the miracles of Pesach were very revealed,
Open.
very open. And it's interesting, like when there's like a, a special prayer that you say when you give charity to Reb Meir Bal Hanes. Reb Meir Bal Hanes it's a very interesting charity box. I should get one for everybody. I love them. Like they are my
I
most,
love it. I
yeah,
love it.
I like, yeah, they're
I
amazing.
use it all the time.
Yes, because you lose something all the time.
All the time.
Gail, I have to say something. This is crazy. Okay, I won't keep you because I know it's recording. But this morning I couldn't find my favorite scarf, and I'd been looking for it all morning, and then I thought, okay, Hashem, and I prayed to Hashem to Rabbi Baal Nassim. And would you believe it? Straight away, I got goosebumps. Straight away, my mind, I saw a vision of myself rounding the scarf up, putting it in my coat pocket. I went in and I picked it up. I had to go and tell my husband, but I love it. I love it so much.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I'm going to tell you a
Again.
little bit about it. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So Reb Meir Bal Hanes was a great Torah scholar, and he was very well known. And he was a person, he lived in a very hard time in Jewish history. In Jewish history, when the second temple was being destroyed, that was a very, very hard time for the Jewish people. They really weren't able to have schools anymore. They weren't able to really educate anymore. It was very hard to get smicha, like to get, one rabbi to be able to pass on the knowledge that they needed to be able to be a rabbi, because the Romans were actually telling everybody you couldn't learn Torah. So for anyone to sit and learn Torah, they were really risking their lives. It was a really, really hard time. So Reb Meir Bal Hanes was a very, very holy soul. He was was only like 5 rabbis who were able to get smicha before the Romans really stopped the whole process. He was one of them. And they used to say about him that miracles would happen to him. He was a very powerful character in that way. So the way he became famous was that it was his sister-in-law who was captured by the Romans, and she was put in prison. And it was terrible, right? You can imagine. It's almost like this is what we need for the hostages right now. Literally, this story is what we need for the hostages right now. Okay, they were like the same idea, being in captivity like this. So he really came up. He was going to free his sister-in-law no matter what. So he decided he would bribe the guard, and be able to get her out. So he went to the guard and he said, listen, I'm willing to give you lots and lots of money. He had collected lots of money, and I want to get my sister-in-law out of prison. So the prison guard said, are you crazy? It's not worth it. I'll get killed. They'll chop my head off. They'll find out that you bribed me and I'm done. So he said, no, you don't understand. I am going to give you almost like a blessing and these words that you should say that will save you. You have nothing to worry about. I'm telling you, I can do this. And he's like, what are you saying? And the prison had these very vicious dogs. All right. So he says, just watch, torment the dogs, call the dogs. And he calls the dogs, and the dogs are like, and then they start running, and they're running after this jail warden. And he says to him, all you have to say is Elokai de Meir, the God of Meir, Elokai de Meir, Elokai de Meir, save me. And so the guard did it. And guess what? Dogs stopped on a dime. So the guard said, you know what? for a million whatevers, okay, I'll try it. Okay, so he said, okay, this is gonna work fine. And he like memorized the words. Anyway, he, they let his sister-in-law out of prison, and she escapes. But the Romans are not fools, you know what I mean? And they understand like something came up here, like this is impossible. And they end up taking this jail, the warden, and they end up taking him and they're going to hang him. Okay. And he's like, oh my gosh, what's going to be? What's going to be? And then just as they're about to hang him, he screams out, Elokai de me'er aneni, Elokai de me'er aneni, Elokai de me'er aneni. And they go, what? And they take off the noose from his neck and they say, what were you saying? And he starts telling them over the story. So now they're out to look for Rab Meir Baal Hanes, okay? But he escapes and everything is fine. And his sister-in-law escapes. And he says like this, okay? Before he dies, he was a rabbi who took care of the poor in Israel. He took care of all the people, the poor and the widows and the people who were learning Torah. He always had taken care of these people. So he said, in merit of the charity that anybody gives who is like a student of mine. What does that mean, a student of mine? Someone who cares to give charity to the poor. And there's like a special tzedakah box, right? That's called the Rab Meir Baal Hanes tzedakah box. If you will give charity, right, and take care of the poor, like I took care of the poor, then I will be an advocate for you in heaven. So he advocates for you in heaven in certain things. So one of the things is when somebody loses something. Okay, so because you should know in the Torah, if someone loses something, it's a really big mitzvah for you to help them. Like who here doesn't feel amazing when somebody helps you? Like you go, I lost my glasses. And instead of someone going, that happens to you all the time, they do this. Let me help you find them. And you're like, yes. Okay, you're like so happy. And they go around and they help you find them, right? So that's like how Rab Meir Baal Hanes is. He says, you know what? I will advocate for you. I will try to help you find them. And so many people have found, like I can tell you a million stories of where I found things that were lost that was not normal, like a little diamond earring or a bracelet that was in the mud, like crazy stories, like right now what Tanya said. So there's this idea that you say, I will give charity in the merit of Rab Meir Baal Hanes, and then you say, like because it's almost like Hashem made a little bargain, not Hashem, like Rab Meir Baal Hanes said to God, these are like my students. Your students are people who do the same principles that you do. And in the Torah, your students are your children. Do you know that? Your students are like your children. Okay, so it's really a beautiful idea. So he advocates on our behalf. So one of the things that he advocates is you can put charity into that box and you could say, God, just like you did miracles for Rab Meir Baal Hanes, right? And you did miracles that were open for him, right? Like the dogs stopped on a dime. And you did miracles that were private for him. Just like you did those miracles to save him, do those miracles to save the Jewish people. It's a very beautiful idea. So that's what we're thinking about. So when you're looking at Purim and Pesach and this time of year, what do we always say? What do we say? The Jewish calendar is not obsolete. And the Jewish calendar is not just for you to mark in, I have an appointment at the doctor and I'm going to the dentist. No, the Jewish calendar is to revive inside of us the spiritual energies of that time. And so right now, the spiritual energies of the time that we are in, Purim and Pesach, is a spiritual energy of miracles. What kind? Private miracles, where God just like lines up the cards for you, right? Where things just work out, right? You're waiting for the shidduch right? Like Danielle was waiting for her shidduch, waiting for her brashert. This happens, that happens, this happens, that happens. And then it happened, right? And the pieces line up, right? And the pieces line up, right? Diane, no? Like, what's her name? Shidduch. Tali Shidduch.
Oh, wonderful.
Wonderful. It was like the pieces lined up. Her best friend who had a cousin, and they go to Israel, and and she wasn't even interested in this guy. Okay. She didn't like, she was actually like, really? We have to go with your cousin? She didn't want to go with this. Like imagine like, she said, you don't mind. I just have to pick up my cousin. And she's like, I don't even want to go with your cousin. At the end, the cousin sees Tali, says, oh my gosh, she's amazing. I want to date her. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It all lines up, all these like
And
coincidences.
she phoned me this morning for ages. I said, how's David? Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Right,
Cooking
right,
dinner for him.
right.
We just had such nice
It just-
dinners.
Right. It just lined up, right, Phyllis? It
Mhm.
lined up. It took, so it's, you're waiting, and then boink, 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 done. Now she lives in Israel, done. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. It's like, life is so interesting. So this is the time that we have those miracles, so to speak, that seem hidden. Everything seems like a coincidence, right? Vashti gets killed, coincidence. Now we need Esther. This is, like you're wondering, Jewish people wondering, like, what the heck? How did Esther end up in the palace, right? Well, 12 years later, you understand.
Can I interrupt about, you said
Sure.
12 years? From when? When Esther became part of
When the
the
story of the
harem?
Megillah starts, so it's like 12 years when
And
Ahasuerus makes the party, and then Vashti is killed, and then they make this whole choosing the woman to marry Ahasuerus, right? And then Haman coming to power. Like, do you see what's going on here? So really, like right now, I have no idea. I'm not a prophet, but right now, when you are watching history unfold now, it is the most bizarre history that any of us has ever seen. You have never seen such incompetent, like I'm being honest, like like America is like, what is happening? America is like Rosh HaYeshiva, like the head of all democracy, right? Like if we're looking at this, like like when you're talking about the power at be, like when the Roman Empire fell and the Greek Empire fell and this fell, like you're watching like this shaky, what is going on here? Right? And you're seeing like such interesting things, like this country going completely against Israel, then this country is pro-Israel, and it's not making any sense. What does South Africa have to do with Israel? You know what I'm saying? It's like, why such hate? Why such this? Why such that? Like, we don't understand it because it's Hashem's story, but it's just like in the Megillah. You think that, like, imagine, go back in all these centuries. Do you know that Achashverosh was a nothing? He wasn't of royal blood. Achashverosh was a stable boy, right? What was Hitler? He was homeless. Do you know that Hitler was homeless for part of his life? You know what I'm trying to say? Like this, like you're watching these things, like these are not like, the Kennedys were groomed to be the presidents, like certain families, right? The Bushes, they groomed their boys to one day be the president of the United States of America, not like nobodies usually become these people in power. So Achashverosh, like everyone, like you imagine everybody sitting around in Shushan going, what the heck? How did he get in? Like you're wondering, right? So we don't understand all these like pieces to the puzzle, but they're all pieces to the puzzle. So there's like this global, and then there's this miniature, right? Like, Tali going, what am I doing with this cousin? Like, what's he doing on this, adventure with us, right? But it all is like, Tanya, like right now, I always find it fascinating. Like, Tanya, you're knitting, right? You look at these things that people knit, it's just like one little knot, next little knot, next little knot, next little knot, right? It's just knots. And then somehow it's a beautiful blanket. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is what's going on. You're living in history. We're watching all, like Hashem is going like this. You know what I mean? And we're like, what is he doing? Right? So then you see in all the stories, Purim, all the knots were being put together. And what was created? A Megillah. So let me explain something to you. Everyone's life here, there's an expression in Yiddish, you're all a ganze Megillah.
Mm.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
whole story.
You are all a Ganze Megillah.
No
It's
trouble.
not a joke. And it's so interesting because when we say, like, there will become a certain part in Jewish history, right? We talk about like the Messiah coming and the world coming to peace and this and that. There won't be Jewish holidays anymore. Do you know that?
Oh,
There won't be. So, like, you know, we won't have to go to Sobeys and go, oh my gosh, it's Pesach. Okay, so there won't be. There's only one holiday that will be left. And that holiday is Purim. And it's very funny. So that means there will be a written Torah, an oral Torah, and a Megillah.
Yeah.
And the Megillah, it's so interesting, is supposed to, you know, it's very interesting when they read the Megillah, when you see the Bal Koreh, the person who reads the Megillah, they open the entire Megillah up. Like it seems like so cumbersome. Like you see them, this is how they have to turn the pages. You know why they open the whole Megillah up? Because until you read the whole story, you never understand your whole life. Like each and every one of us, like we have to go back to your childhood. Like, why did God give me the parents he gave me and I lived in this certain place? And do you know what I mean? I had to live in Toronto and I had Holocaust survivor parents. It's not the same as other people who had different parents, right? I never had grandparents. Like, you know, all these, like, they're all another stitch. They're all another stitch. They're all another, do you know what I mean? And I end up writing my Megillah. And so did each and every one of you. You're all a treasured Megillah. And in that treasured Megillah of your life, you had open and closed miracles. True or false? Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Open miracles. Like, you know, open miracles. I'm sure, like, you know, brushes with disease that were very serious diseases. And thank God you came out, right? Open miracles. It's not a small thing.
Painful.
What?
No,
Gail,
sorry.
I believe every morning that I wake up at my age, that's a miracle.
Yes. Yes. You're 100% right. Really, it's a miracle for all of us. You know, like every morning when you say the Shmona,
Mordiani.
yes, Nomoda Ani is 100%, and Shmona Esrei. When you daven Shmona Esrei, you keep talking. Like it's so interesting. Like it's the most important prayer, and the second blessing, all about Tchiyat HaMetim, the resurrection of the dead, the resurrection of the dead, the resurrection of the dead. Now, not one of us has ever seen the resurrection of the dead. Nobody ever saw somebody come out of the, you know, so what are we talking about? So Marie said it, the resurrection of the dead is every single morning that God gives you your life back. The resurrection of the dead is how many times you were in a really bad, challenging place and you really thought you're never going to get out and God took you out, right? And things like on the story of Purim, v'nahapechu, they turned completely around, right? So I just want to tell you a cute Purim little, I just want to tell you a cute little joke. So I just tell it to you now, it's very cute. So this rabbi gets this position in a shul, you know, he gets to the shul and he sees like there's something really weird, comes to a certain point in the prayers, half the congregation stands and the other half of the congregation sits, and then they start yelling at each other, okay? So the part that's standing starts yelling at the people who are sitting. You're supposed to be standing. And the part that's sitting starts yelling at the people who are standing and says to them, you should be sitting down. And it's like back and forth, and everybody's fighting. And this poor new rabbi is so overwhelmed and he doesn't know what to do. Like, he's like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? This one's fighting this one. How do I know what, like this shul, maybe it has like a certain minhag, you know, a certain custom that they stand, you know, but this ones are sitting and the ones who are sitting yelling at the ones who are standing. So what should I do? So someone says to him, you know what, call your rabbi. Every rabbi has a rabbi, so he calls the rabbi, and the rabbi says to him, you know what you have to do? Find the oldest member of the congregation and ask him, what is the minhag? What is the custom from the beginning when this, you know, shul was around so many years? What was the custom? So the rabbi's like, oh, that's such a good idea. And he finds out the oldest member in the shul, and he happened to be now in a nursing home. Okay, so he's 98 years old, and his name is Mr. Finkelstein. So he goes to Mr. Finkelstein. So he says to Mr. Finkelstein, like, I really want to know. Every time, it's like making me crazy. And he takes with him one representative of the people who want to stand, and one representative of the people who say you're supposed to sit. Okay? Fine. So the person who's standing, who always wants to stand, says, so Mr. Finkelstein, tell the truth, right? What was the custom in the shul? Wasn't it that we should always be standing? So Mr. Finkelstein says, nah, I don't remember that it was that. So then the people who are, the ones who said we should be sitting, they go, yeah, it's that we were sitting. I told you, you made a mistake. So Mr. Finkelstein says to them, nah, I don't remember that it was that you're supposed to be sitting. That's not the custom either. So then the rabbi says, like, what are we supposed to do? You don't understand. Like, half the shul stands up, the other half sits down, and then they break into a big fight. And so Mr. Finkelstein says to the rabbi, that's the custom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That was my corny joke for today, but it was kind of funny.
Very funny.
The tradition. All right. So the Torah tells you something very interesting, and this is important for us to know. The Torah says that when the Torah came down, it was wound up with a sword. So the rabbis asked,
A
what is
sword?
that? Yeah. Very,
Doesn't
I'm
bend.
so happy that you're listening, Sheila. I'm so glad. So the Torah came down wrapped with a sword. So the rabbis asked, what does that have to mean? What's the Gemara trying to teach you? The Talmud tells you that the Torah came down wrapped with a sword. So what's it trying to teach you? So it's like this. It's interesting. The sword represents the Yetzer Hara. The sword represents, there's this side of us called the body, and this whole material physical reality that makes you think there's no soul, that makes you start to, we just eat, drink, and be merry, and tomorrow we die, and that's the end of the story. Do you know what I mean? And people, and people are just people. No, people are not just people. People are very godly. They have a godly spark inside of them. I just was sent a very beautiful video. Did anybody get this? How people send around these beautiful videos. With one of the hostages was standing on a stage. She was speaking in Israel, and she was saying that when she was in these tunnels, for some reason, she kept feeling as if there were these angels protecting her, and she couldn't understand why. These are very secular people. Most of the people are the hostages. Some of them never even had a bar mitzvah. Some of them never even saw a Torah. It's the real secular of Israel. We have to appreciate very big atheists. It's not simple. These are people. So for her to have this feeling of angels, even for her, it was a little odd. But she just felt like there was something protecting her. Okay? So she was on the stage and she said that her mother had gotten involved with this group of ladies while she was in these tunnels, who told her you can't give up hope. You see a lot of the Haredim, a lot of the more religious people were really telling these people, give tzedakah, do good things, have emunah in Hashem, And I told you this idea of the tambourines. Have I told you this idea? It's so nice. There's an idea out there for each one of us to get a tambourine, because when the Jewish women left Egypt, they all had tambourines with them that they had kept throughout the story of the slavery, because they always believed God was going to take them out. The Jewish people were promised that they would be redeemed. And so Miriam and all these people, all the women, they took with them tambourines. Hold on one second. Okay.
Beautiful. This is the one you did about
Yeah, this is
tomorrow.
my tambourine. Do you see it?
We have to create.
We
have to
we
do
all
a basket.
created these beautiful
We'll do it. Yeah.
tambourines. Yeah. We all created these beautiful tambourines to take with us. So like I hang it on my wall. This way, when the shofar blows, I'm going to grab it. Okay. And I'm on my way out the door to Israel. Okay. So
In
Okay.
fact, Gail,
yeah.
our ladies are having an event, I think it's in 2 weeks' time,
Yes. With
where
Tanya.
we've got someone who's going to teach us all to make tambourines.
Yes. So
Told,
ladies, you
and-
should go to that event. You know what? Send me the flyer. I think you sent it to me, but if you have the flyer, do you have the flyer? Do you see Tanya, who is crocheting? She is the one leading the
Freeman,
event.
yeah.
She's the artist who's going to lead it. If you women could get out, you should go into it. It's it's such a nice thing. Like Sheila, every one of you, Jackie, if you can go, Phyllis, like go, like just go and enjoy it. It's just you paint. They'll help you. They'll help you. And then you have your tambourine, and it's only your tambourine of hope, right?
And
It's our
we'll do one with Gail as well another time, please.
yeah, if
God.
you want, we could do
Before
one at my
Pesach.
house. Can everyone, if you
That
guys
would be
can get to
wonderful.
my house, I would open my house and we'll do it by me. Can you
Oh,
get there,
thank you.
Jackie?
You're
Can you
on.
get to my house? I'm on Thornhill. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. So maybe we'll do it at my house. We'll do like a tambourine. We'll paint in different ways. It's so much fun. Anyway, so this is the point. This is the point that we know that we have this Yetzer Hara that's always trying to take us down. Okay. And it's very easy to get down. When you are at Aisha Torah and you see Palestinians across the street, wanting to protest, and they're saying they're going to do it again on Thursday at the Bayit. They're doing it again on Thursday, right? And what are they saying? They're like, Palestine isn't for sale. There is no such place called Palestine. There never was a Palestine, and it's called Eretz Yisrael.
It was a mandate,
Right,
British
right.
mandate of
It's not there was no such
Palestine.
thing. So
They
we live in the
never
land
stood up.
of Israel that belongs to B'nai Yisrael, to the Jewish people. So there's no such thing as Palestine. Like, okay? So when you live in a place like this where you're seeing a lot of crazy darkness and crazy things, this is a very beautiful thing to be able to look at and just feel the hope. And it's the Jewish women throughout Jewish history that saved the Jewish people. And we need to really appreciate that. Okay, like if you're looking for the men to save us, you're barking up the wrong tree. All right, it's Miriam who never gave up. It's Esther who put her life on the line. We have to appreciate it's the Jewish women. The whole story with the Maccabees was started by a Jewish woman, right? She was the one who went and cut off the head of the general and brought it to the Jewish men and said, look, if I could do this, you can go to fight. Okay? Do you see what I'm trying to say? So we need to appreciate who we are. So it comes, the only antidote to this sword of the Yetzer Hara, the only antidote, right? The only thing that is going to save us from this misunderstanding of what we are here for in this world is the Torah. It's the only thing. It's the only true clarity, to the world. So I was just watching Rabbi Yoel Gold. It's worth it to go online to find this. Rabbi Yoel Gold's latest story. It is not normal. Yeah, it's recent. It's just like within this, I don't know how many years ago, 2 years or 3 years, or it's a very recent story. So there was a pastor in Colombia. Like Colombia is like drug cartels, kidnapping. Colombia is not an easy place to be. Okay, he was a pastor as a young boy. He was very connected to spirituality, non-Jew, at least he thought. All right, a non-Jewish boy grows up to become a pastor of 1,000 Christians in Colombia, church with 1,000 Christians in Colombia, and they sent him to Israel from the church as part of his education. And even when he was there, he started to feel like something's off. Do you know what I mean? Like the Jewish people are very special, and the Holy Land is the Jewish, you know what I mean? Like spark was being, ignited in him. It's a crazy story. And he was kidnapped in Colombia because that's how they do it. I had a good friend from Venezuela. Like kidnapping is very common, and then they ransom you. It's not normal. It's like it's almost an accepted reality that everybody, almost like South Africa, no, except you get carjacked, but they don't want to keep you. Like you don't get ransomed, do you? They don't kidnap you and then ransom you.
I
But
think they would now.
Yeah.
maybe they do now, could be. But generally
No, they don't.
they don't. But in South America, this is common that they will kidnap you. They hold you for ransom. Okay. He was held for a month. His
That's
parents,
good.
they were asking for millions of pesos. There was nobody who had millions of pesos. Finally, they dropped the price and they sent him back. But he was traumatized. And the only thing he had with him when he was in captivity, he had his Bible, like the Old Testament, which is, you know, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Anyway, he goes to Israel a second time, and he comes back and he realizes he can no longer be a pastor, and he does not want to be a non-Jew. He wanted to convert to Judaism. He stands up in front of his whole church and he says, "This is my last sermon to you because I have decided," do you believe this? To become Jewish. And
Wow.
this is the truth. And 600 out of 1,000 people went with him and became Jews. And there's like a whole video of this story. It's like
Wonderful.
it's an amazing story. So these are people who like looked at their lives and said, no, I'm more than a physical being. There's something bigger, just like in the Megillah, right? In the Gansa Megillah of my life, there was this thread called God. Do you know what I mean? Who was weaving in and out and being part of this story. And without this thread, right? Like, this is what's interesting. Like, for a second, like, Tanya, think about it. You pull that thread and that entire piece will be gone. Poof, into smoke, right? This is the thread of Hashem inside your life. He pulls it and everything can be discombobulated in a second.
This is where it comes from, the word unravels. Yes.
Yes, unraveled. Okay. So that's a good point. So this is what we have to appreciate. So the Torah is telling you this Torah came down with this sword. It's the only antidote to this mess that we are in right now. Right now, the world just said, let's get God out. Let's get any ethical, moral principles of the 10 Commandments out. And now see what you have. You have an absolute disaster, right? So this is what these like we are called the people of the book. That's who we're called. And which the book? It's not Oprah magazine, okay? And it's not even Mishpacha, okay? The book is the Torah itself. That's who we are, the people of the book. And when you use it to guide your life and you take a look at it, you could see like the hand of Hashem. You can appreciate what's going on around you without this incredible anxiety, right, that people are feeling right now. And you can appreciate the people in your lives. And most of all, you can appreciate the power within you. So this girl who came onto the stage, who said that she saw like angels surrounding her, what did she say? She said her mother got involved. People came, they want to do from the goodness of their hearts. Like these women would go to the mother and they'd say, you know what? We came to say Tehillim with you. We came to pray with you. We came to give charity. We came to do acts of kindness. Do you know, like they'd be sending her letters. Strangers are going up to these people in Israel saying, I am doing this in merit of your daughter. I have your daughter's, you know, welfare in my mind. And I pray for the hostages and I pray for this and I'll pray for that. So remember years, like a while ago, I gave a whole Devar Torah that told you with every act of kindness you do, you produce an angel. You produce a spiritual force that's positive, that advocates for you and everyone in the world. So this girl, when she came back and the mother told her, and she realized that all these Jewish people all over the world are praying for these hostages, right? And taking on acts of kindness and doing this. She said, now I understood what those angels were that I was feeling.
Oh, I've gone cold.
You know what I mean? She said, now I understand. So this is what we have to really take this seriously now. Like, I'm not kidding. Okay, we're at a, like, all these miracles that happened, the miracles in Egypt, the miracles in Purim, the ones that are hidden and the ones that are open, they came from the choices that the Jewish
We
people
make.
made at that time. It wasn't just, okay, because you're partners, not aseh Adam. We're partners with Hashem. So if we want to see these positive realities and positive angels, you have to create them. God isn't going to create them. We have to create them. We have to create them with our prayers and the way we treat each other and the charity that we give and the hope that we instill in other people. And I don't, like, yesterday there was this dance-a-thon at the Bayit, and it's beautiful. They're doing it all over the world right now in the merit of these hostages, and every dance place has to pick like 4 hostages that they're praying for. So there was like these big mechitzas like that were around where we were dancing, and they were the posters of the hostages that this dance was dedicated to. And why dancing? Because it's hope. It was like dancing. It was like this. It was like the Jewish women saying, we're not afraid. We're not, like, you can protest, schmotest from here till tomorrow. We're going to win this. We will win this, especially if we are united. And when you dance, like, what's the most famous dance that the Jewish people do?
The horror.
Yes. Do you know what's so special about the Hora? Who's the leader?
Goes round.
Yes, it's round.
Like a
Round.
You
circle.
don't know who's in the front and who's in the back. Every single person in the Hora is equally
A leader.
important. You
Yes.
don't know who it is. Everyone is equally important, right? So when you're united, you have like a certain strength and a certain koyach. So that, like, last night, I really, like, I felt it. Like, it was like this big beat, and it was all Jewish women from different people totally not religious, secular people, religious people dressed like, in little nothings to exercise, and then people dressed, right? Like, we're all schwitzing, It was just very interesting. Okay, so this is the energies that we have to be tapping in now. So we have to realize we're writing our Ganze Megillah. The Ganze Megillah is going to take choices that we're going to have to make. It's not going to come just from Hashem. He's not going to send out a freebie here. We have to earn the peace in this world, and we have to earn this success, and we have to earn this reality, right? And the way for us to earn it is to do the next right thing. That's the way we're going to earn it. And that's the way they earned it in the story of Purim. And that was the way they earned it in the story of Pesach. And this is the energy right now that you can tap into. Like, this is the energy right now in these months in Adar and Nisan. This is the energy that you want to tap into. Okay, everybody, does anybody have a question or anything they want to ask or comment or nice story? I'm open to everything. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. So
We're
Marie,
good.
were you there? Were you at Aish, Marie?
No, I
You
I
stayed
got
home.
the thing last night, and
Yeah.
really, I didn't. I've been to one demonstration, only
Yeah.
one, years
Where?
ago when I came. It was at Summerhill,
Oh,
outside the LCBO. It was
wow.
Erev Pesach, and
Wow.
the people who were demonstrating against buying Israeli wines
Oh my
were
gosh.
that Jewish crowd. I've forgotten what they call themselves. And I thought I'd just come here a year or two, and I went and I stood there, and of course there was this big
Yeah.
apartheid thing. And I
Yes.
went up to them and I said, listen to my accent. This is where I come from, and you know nothing about
Nothing about what apartheid means.
absolutely nothing. I've lived through it. And I said, Israel is not an apartheid state. And I said to one woman that she would be declassified as a white woman because of certain things.
Yeah.
Anyway, I won't go into it.
Yeah.
And I said to her, in Israel, there's nothing like it. But last
No.
night, yesterday morning, well, Saturday night, they notified us. I thought, no, you know what? Leave it
Yes.
to the police and everybody
Yes, leave
else.
it to, yes.
The thing was this, they were trying to sell, apparently some Israeli crowd are trying to sell properties in
Yes,
the West
yes, that's
Bank.
what's going to happen in
And
the
this is
Bryant
what,
too.
yeah, and they said, how can you, the pro-Palestinians said, how can you sell our land?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Your
God.
land, okay.
Their land.
It's already been 75 years. Maybe get
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah. And no country wants them anyway.
That's the biggest, saddest part, because if we could just send them
Yeah,
some-
Egypt's
would
put
be
up a
even
bigger, thicker wall
I
not to
know.
let them
I
in.
know. I know.
Well, Trudeau doesn't mind them.
Yes, of course. Okay, so we're on our way out
So-
to everyone. A wonderful, beautiful, good week, and thank you so
You
much.
Gail.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
Gail.
you.
Yes,
All
thank
the
you, and I
best.
will
Thank
send
you,
some-
Gail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All
Take
the best.
care.
Bye.
Can you
Thanks,
All the
Gail.
best.
I have a
Bye-bye.